citizens are killed, including a girl child, and 23 others are wounded in terrorist attacks in various parts of Damascus. Syrian Arab Army units eliminate terrorists in several governorates. Russia affirms its determination to continue work with the Syrian government and opposition in order to reach fruitful results from Geneva II conference. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our news for today. A Damascus police command source has announced the death of a girl child and the injury of a woman and a female child when a mortar shell fired by terrorists fell near Al-Jubba Square in Sheikh Muhyiddin neighborhood in Damascus. 3 citizens were killed today and 21 others were injured in a terrorist attack with mortar shells in Baghdad Street, the center of the vocational rehabilitation of the handicapped and Martyr Ahmad Hamish Hospital in Barza neighborhood in Damascus. A police command source said a mortar shell fired by terrorists fell on a house in Baghdad Street, killing 3 citizens and wounding 4 others. The source added that 17 citizens were injured when 2 mortar shells fell in the surroundings of Hamish Hospital in Barza neighborhood. 2 other shells hit the complex of the Vocational Rehabilitation Center for the Handicapped. No casualties were reported. Minister of Health Dr. Saad al-Naif has said terrorists have committed a massacre that claimed the lives of 5 doctors, 5 nurses and 2 drivers on the first aid system in Deir Atiyeh in Damascus suburbs. Also in Damascus suburbs, the Syrian Arab Army has eliminated armed terrorist groups and destroyed their criminal tools south of the plastics factory and in Mabrak al-Naqa district in Al-Nabak, as well as northeast of Yabrud Bridge. On the ground, Syrian Arab Army destroyed a terrorist hideout in the vicinity of Bilal al-Habashi Mosque in the city of Daraa, killing many terrorists inside and injuring others. The army also eliminated an armed terrorist group that had tried to infiltrate from the town of Inkhil to attack the residents in As-Sanomin in Daraa countryside. In Homs, Syrian Arab Army killed a number of terrorists in the village of al-Tababir in Al-Firqlos, destroying their truck and pickup, which were loaded with weapons and ammunition. The Syrian Arab Army also destroyed several terrorist hideouts in Zara, Al-Husn, Al-Ghasibiyya village and the surroundings of Al-Dwair, killing many of them. Meanwhile, the army eliminated a sniper who was taking a position in a residential building between the neighborhoods of Al-Qarabis and Jurat al-Shayyah. The army also destroyed a terrorist gathering near At-Tahya Mosque in Bab Houd. In Aleppo, the Syrian Arab Army fought terrorists in the neighborhoods of Al-Marjeh, Al-Ansari, Bustan al-Qasr and Al-Rashidin, killing many of them. The army also foiled an attempt by terrorists to sneak into Al-Safhiyya garage, killing many of them and injuring others. Meanwhile, army troops destroyed many terrorist gatherings and a number of their vehicles in Bab Qasrin in the old city. In Aleppo countryside, Syrian Arab Army pounded a terrorist gathering, destroying 2 of their vehicles, which were packed with weapons and ammunition in the vicinity of Al-Kindi Hospital, eliminating many terrorists in the areas of Al-Yaramoun, Al-Mansoura and the vicinity of the central prison. The army also destroyed many terrorist hideouts in the villages and towns of Babis, Arbin, Kweres, Al-Jdeide and Handarat. In Hama countryside, Syrian Arab Army eliminated several armed terrorist groups east of Al-Asaliya village and to the north of Al-Matiq castle, destroying a number of their cars which were loaded with weapons and ammunition. In Idlib countryside, Syrian Arab army killed a number of terrorist leaders in an operation that targeted their hideouts in the village of Hantutin. In the village of Ain Larus, the Syrian Arab army also destroyed a hideout for the terrorist leaders, most of them non-Syrians, including Egyptians, Jordanians, Libyans and Qataris. The Syrian Arab army also pounded several terrorist gatherings and hideouts, killing all terrorists inside in Ma'arrat, Masrin, Binnish and Nahalia. In Latakia, the Syrian Arab army units targeted several terrorist gatherings in the villages of Al-Rabi'a, Salma, Saqiyat, Al-Kirt, Ghmam and Al-Khadra, destroying many vehicles carrying missiles or equipped with different kinds of machine guns, killing many terrorists including leaders of the so-called Islamic State in Iraq and the Sham. Army units also destroyed a vehicle loaded with explosive devices in the village of Ain al-Qantara, killing a number of terrorists including the Jordanian Abu Trab, leader of the so-called Al-Ifta Circle in the Islamic State of Iraq and the Sham. Meanwhile, a vehicle loaded with missiles blew off in the village of Wadi Hizirin, killing many terrorists. Welcome back. Russia has expressed determination to work with the Syrian government and the opposition to settle pending issues within the framework of the Geneva II International Conference on Syria, due to be held on the 22nd of next January. In a statement, the Russian Foreign Ministry said a number of issues would still to be solved before the convention of the conference in connection with the participation of the Syrian government and opposition delegations in the conference without preconditions, and the states that should be invited to the conference. The Russian Foreign Ministry stressed that to guarantee access to fruitful results from the conference depends to a large extent on the ability of the Syrian sides to be united in the face of the danger of terrorism which is invading Syrian territories. The statement pointed out that Russian Deputy Foreign Minister Mikhail Bogdanov had agreed during his talks with the opposition coalition delegation in Geneva yesterday on the need to continue contacts in order to turn as soon as possible the armed confrontation that has so far led to the deterioration of the humanitarian situation in Syria into a political process that aims at guaranteeing a democratic development in the sovereign Syria and the unity of its people. The statement added that both sides discussed issues of preparations for the Convention of Geneva II in order to implement the Geneva Statement issued in June last year. Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign and Expatriates Minister Walid al-Muallim has called on the world community to shoulder its responsibilities in ending the agony of the Palestinian people and adopting serious steps to stop the human rights violations against them by the Israeli occupation authorities. Syria has put up and is still putting up with a lot of pressures, Mr. al-Muallim added, to force it to abandon the Palestinian people and their just cause and to give up the occupied Syrian Golan. However, Mr. al-Muallim affirmed that pressures would not reduce Syria's determination to stand on the side of the Palestinian people until they establish their independent state on their national soil with Jerusalem as its capital on the basis of relevant UN resolutions. In a message addressed to the chairman of the committee concerned with the Palestinian people's practice of their inalienable rights on the occasion of the committee's annual meeting to celebrate the World Day in solidarity with the Palestinian people, Mr. al-Muallim said hundreds of UN resolutions issued over the past 65 years have affirmed that the Palestinian people have inalienable rights and that the Israeli occupation authorities are trying to wipe out those rights in their attempt to liquidate Palestinian cause. The Foreign and Expatriates Minister said Syria has been aware from the very early beginning of the need to preserve the Palestinian people's rights, so it has stood on their side in every way to defend those rights. It has also hosted for decades about 500,000 Palestinians who have enjoyed the same rights of Syrian citizens without any encroachment on their right to repatriation according to UN General Assembly Resolution 194. The Syrian Arab Republic has joined the international treaty to facilitate access to published works by visually impaired persons and persons with print disabilities. The treaty was signed on behalf of the Syrian government by Syria's permanent representative to the UN in Geneva, Faisal al-Hamwi, at the headquarters of the International Intellectual Property Organization. Al-Hamwi stressed that through its quick joining of the treaty and in being the first state in the region that joins it, the Syrian government has thus proved its keenness to respect and provide all rights to its citizens, particularly to the disabled, and assist them in coping with the intellectual, scientific and cultural developments of the contemporary world. The treaty aims at addressing the challenges that obstruct the full intellectual growth of the disabled and help them participate in various aspects of cultural life and take advanced steps in the domain of knowledge and science. The signatories to the treaty should work to update their national laws according to the treaty provisions and encourage international cooperation to serve its objectives. The death toll of the victims of the terrorist explosions and attacks that targeted several areas in Iraq yesterday has risen to 42. Dozens were injured. 23 people were killed and 39 were wounded in the attack that targeted As-Sadriya region in the center of Baghdad. In Ziqar Governorate, former MP from the Iraqi list Jamal Mohsen al-Rafi'i, the Sheikh of al-Rafi'iyin tribe, was killed when terrorists stormed into his house and assassinated him. In Al-Mosul, 9 people were killed and 20 others were injured in 3 separate attacks, including 2 suicide blasts with car bombs that targeted security barricades. 4 policemen were also killed and 10 others were wounded in a booby-trapped car blast in Bab Sham neighborhood east of Baghdad. 4 other people were killed in As-Sahwa south of Balad town north of the capital. Finally, Iranian Foreign Minister Mohammad Jawad Zarif has said uranium enrichment will continue inside the country, affirming that Iran will be committed to the Geneva Accord provisions as long as the other side is committed to them. Zarif has described the accord as historic, stressing that Iran's nuclear rights are legitimate. He said the 20% enrichment process that was formerly conducted will now be carried out at a percentage of 5%. Zarif pointed out that the 4th article of the Nuclear Arms Non-Proliferation Treaty stipulates such right, adding that when the 5+1 group realized that they could not go forward with their language of force and threat, they decided to respect the right of the Iranian people. With this, we end our news for today. Thank you for watching. For more details about Syria and the region and to view this bulletin again, you can always visit our website in English, syriaonline.sy. Now to latest business and market news with Nariman Qassam, but after a short break.
Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. The Ministries of Industry and Agriculture signed today 2 memorandums of understanding in order to implement the National Programme of Quality. The first memorandum was signed by the Ministry of Agriculture and the Directorate of Organic Production and the Syrian Center for Accreditation Services, that includes activating the rules and regulations of organic production in Syria, as well as developing this field according to the international standards to increase the income of the farmers and the producers. The Ministry of Agriculture asked the concerned parties to contribute to the marketing of the olive crops in their areas, in order to provide the local market with olive products in affordable prices. On the other hand, the Ministry estimated the olive production for this season at 950,000 tons, as the total quantities of olives oil were estimated at 160,000 tons. The financial and economic expert Wael Habash asserted that Damascus Securities Exchange has started publishing the financial data of the listed companies for the 3rd quarter of this year. He also indicated that the insurance companies got the biggest share in terms of revenues and profits. Meanwhile, the trading value exceeded in the last session 12 million Syrian pounds, with a total bulk reaching 75,000 shares distributed on 87 deals. The prices of U.S. crude oil rebounded after the biggest drop in a week. amid speculation that the crude supplies shrank for the first time in more than 2 months in the U.S., the world's biggest oil consumer. Futures advanced 0.6%, while Brent for January settlement traded above $110 a barrel. European stocks dropped from its highest level in a week, as Japanese shares fell, with the Topix index dropping for the first time in 4 days. Gold rebounded from a 4-month low to the highest level in almost a week. Gold for February delivery gained 1.3% to reach $1,258 an ounce. The yen strengthened for the first time in 4 days versus the US dollar after minutes of the Bank of Japan's October meeting showed that some officials said they saw risks to the outlook for the economy. Ladies and gentlemen, this was our economic news for today. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.